All right, everybody. Welcome to season one, episode two of the For the Shirt podcast. We are very excited to be here with you after a very, I would say, it's an exciting week one. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, it was a we were all looking forward to it. It was one of those night before Christmas, Christmas Eve kind of moments where you're sitting
I
there and
could
waiting for
not
the waiting
sleep
for the games to kick off.
on
Yeah, I
Thursday.
think like
I was so
it
excited.
wasn't even that like going to the game on Saturday when we went to the bar to go watch together. I probably woke up at different times during the night, and I'm like, all right, is it 6:30 yet? Can I wake up and get myself ready? I had
Right.
my I had my jersey lined up. I knew exactly what I was wearing to the bar in the morning. I had my scarf laid out. Like we were ready to go. And I mean the game was no disappointment for us, honestly. Like I think
First
that
half wasn't the best, but it's the first
it
game
was
of
a
the
little
season.
nervy.
Um, and not everybody played in the preseason, but first Premier League game, everybody. It seemed like everybody kind of had the jitters the first half. Like no team really looked fantastic. I would say right off the rip.
Yeah.
Onana looked he. Well, we'll get to that later, I guess. But Villa's the only team that I can remember that came out striking. I mean, I think Bournemouth scored, or no, 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 it was Forest. Forest scored first. They scored pretty early, but other than that, I mean, it wasn't like
Yeah, I think that
right
like
off the rip.
the thing that's great about how they start the games is like you have basically like a good chunk of time in between. Like we still don't even have the first round done because your boys take the field tomorrow. But like it's nice to have you have that breakdown. You got Friday, like that 3 kick for us. It's nice to have like that, and then you have a full slate on Saturday, and then just like the two games today. Both of them were kind of. I think the Brentford and Palace one was a pretty good game overall.
That
Watching
surprised
that,
me. That surprised me, to be honest.
yeah,
As you can tell by my rankings of getting Brentford, I think Brentford are going to get relegated this season. I was surprised that they came out, but um, man, that as a he's a monster. We could talk about that goal later, but the disallowed free kick goal that he had, man, it was. I was watching. I was like, no chance he's shooting this, and it went in, and it was such a stupid scenario. Like the ref blew the whistle in the middle, like when the ball was in flight, right? So they couldn't VAR couldn't do anything, and everybody, like even the commentators, were like that was not a foul. Like the ref should not have blown his whistle, but I don't know why I'm expecting any different at this point. I mean, it was uh it was a comedy of errors, so that really should have been 2-2. But
it's just funny because you've heard it throughout the opening weekend. Like the commentators continue to say, like there's a higher bar now for intervention from VAR, and then you just have like the most ridiculous, like the clear offsides in the Liverpool game that we saw that they took
yeah,
forever to clear that, and then you
yeah,
have something like that situation where there was a clear reason to look back into what actually happened, whether that would have affected the shot at all. I mean, the ball was headed right in. The whistle was blown as the ball is meeting right towards that corner. Like it's one of those that I feel like common sense can rule out a lot of things. It's the same issue that we have with like NFL officiating is that a lot of things can be, if you're looking at the nitpicks of the rules, all right, that might be cause for concern on it. But overall, if it looks pretty cut and dry, you probably should just let it roll. And I just think it's like one of those situations
yeah.
where,
See, this wasn't it wasn't a VAR scenario because VAR would have overturned it 110%. There was no foul there. It was the defender. I don't remember their names. Had his hand clearly around the Crystal Palace man and then fell over the back of him, and the ref saw that, blew the whistle, and because the ball hadn't gone in the net yet, they were saying that they could not VAR couldn't do anything. So it was unfortunate, but oh well. You win some, you lose
last thing
some.
about that
Losing,
game that I was going to say too is that like you look at the reason why Brentford won, and it's once again the reason that they have been able to keep themselves afloat. Every single year, you look at Brentford and you're like, oh, they're going down, and somehow Brian Buemo and Wisa show up and they just end up carrying them all the way through. And that's exactly what happened again today. The two of them
yeah,
carried them right over the line.
yeah, they did that. Mimbueno goal. It was like 3 minutes after the disallowed as a goal, so it wasn't like right after, but it felt pretty quick. It was a it was just class. I mean, I can't lie. Like it should have been saved. He should never have been in that position. But like I said, you can't win them all. It sucks. Losing the first game of the season isn't that big of a deal. But what was most surprising to me about that game in general wasn't anything on the field. It was who wasn't there. Um, the Ivan Tony was not in the squad today. I don't really follow Brentford all that much, just kind of generalities, but I was not expecting that. Thomas Frank came out and was saying that there's transfer interest in him from Saudi Arabia, and they're prepared to offer him like a very large contract. So he said that they were basically gonna. It seems like they're gonna operate like he's gone already, which is I was kind of surprised about. I mean, that's by far your best player. I mean, I guess he's made it clear he doesn't want to play for Brentford anymore. But I mean, the man's still a B for the time being. So interesting choice to.
Yeah, if you look at Fabrizio Romano's post right this morning, he said Ivan Toney out of the Brentford squad for their opening Premier League game. He's still one to watch on the market as Al Ali added him to the short list as revealed 10 days ago, but there are also other opportunities. So it sounds like they are either preparing or just being extra cautious, which you've seen in a couple of leagues already. There's a couple of players that have been sitting out in some of the other European leagues for people that might be potentially moving places. Um, so yeah, I mean that's an interesting miss. I think that they probably could have
So
used him on there
who's
too.
gonna be the sucker that buys him for 67 million pounds? Who's gonna do it? Who's going to want it? Because if it's not, he's made it clear. If it's not Real Madrid, he doesn't want to play there. That's where he sees himself playing, which is absolutely delusional. Um, he's 28 years old. They just got Kylian Mbappe, and he was saying this at the beginning of the summer, after they had already signed Kylian Mbappe. Like it was all done, and he was like, I will play for Real Madrid." I'm like, dude, get a grip, okay? You've
I
had like what, 2 good seasons, maybe. He was suspended for half of last season. Um, I just, I don't know. He's a character. I am
Tell me why he just reeks of Bayern Munich. Like I don't know what it
dude.
is. There's something
But they
about
have
him.
Harry.
He
They
just
have Harry
reeks
Kane.
of Bayern.
He can't play
For how
any other
much
position.
longer
He's not
though?
a
That's the
winger.
thing. Like Harry's gonna end up there for another 1 or 2 years, I would guess, until he starts
I'm pretty sure he
slowing
signed a
down,
5 year
and then
contract. Yeah, you're
I
right. I
just
mean,
feel like you
but
have you
still,
have a few years left until he starts slowing down, and Bayern doesn't really have the patience for a 35-year-old striker that's not hitting shots anymore. So I just feel like it's one of
he
those.
he can always come back to Spurs. He can always come back to Spurs. I will never close the door on Harry Kane. You simply can't do it. I mean, club legend, dude. He's got some unfinished business. I think I was looking at it this morning. I think he's second in all time Premier League scoring. Obviously, Alan Shearer's number one, and I think he's like 80 goals off. I want to say something like that. So he's got some unfinished businesses here. It's not completely impossible. I don't think he's ever going to come back to Spurs, but pipe dream always. So, but anyways, let's overreact to week one. And I, for one, am all for it. I think
Here-
that
Let's hear your
everything that
hot
happened
take.
this week
First
is
hot take of the
completely
week.
legitimate. I don't think it's not really that. It's hard to say this when they lost 2-0. I don't think Ipswich is a bad team. Like I was saying earlier, it's tough. They came out; they're very attacking. I think Burnley really opened my eyes a little bit last year, and we were kind of touched on this last pod. Um, but Burnley, Vincent Company is a very attacking-minded coach. He came out attacking, and he didn't change when they came to the Premier League. Ipswich, similar story, very attacking team. They came out playing a low block against Liverpool. I mean, obviously, the smart thing to do would be play a low block, but I think in the first half, I mean, they looked great in the first half, in my opinion. I mean, they had a few chances. Obviously, weren't able to capitalize on any of them, but I think that you know, I was impressed with them. Didn't know what to expect. I've never once watched an Ipswich game. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought they looked good. There
Yeah,
wasn't
I
a
mean,
whole lot that really surprised me this week, to be honest. I would say that was one of the things that kind of stuck out.
if you look at just like the breakdown of that game, I mean, I I know I told you I basically rewatched the entire thing, and when you rewatch it and you watch the games, it was so like everything was leaning towards Liverpool's side. All the chances throughout the game were on Liverpool's side, but the one thing that Ipswich did really well is they played very clean. They were still, I mean, they still pushed Liverpool a lot, but they only committed 9 fouls the entire game. They seemed that they were. It was not like they were out of place. Is really, I
Right.
guess, the best
No,
place that I would say.
absolutely.
Like
I
it was,
and that was
it,
yeah, that was my whole point.
when you come up when you come up to the Premier League, there's a level of play that you have to heighten, and like we talked about with Ipswich being double promotion teams, they could come out like a championship team and they'll get demolished 6-0, but that didn't happen. I mean,
No.
they controlled a part of the game, a portion of the game, and then just like when you're coming up against a team like Liverpool that has the talent that they have, you have to play smart, and they played smart. But Arne's entire system is all about trying to catch you out, and that the entire system that they played was just sit back.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there was a couple of, I mean, there's two separate occasions where I can talk about at least where, at the end of the game, you had uh they 70, I have it right here, 79th minute, number 5 on Ipswich lofts in a through ball right over Kanate and Virgil van Dijk. 16 controls the ball. Allison saves it left hand. That was like probably the best opportunity. So, I mean, what you're seeing once again, there's another kind of similar thing cross over the defenders. The same way to beat Liverpool, no matter what you do, is to go over us. Defensively, it's all about trying to track back because we are going to push so hard and far upfield that it's all about trying to track back in time. And I think that overall, Ipswich did a good job. I mean, only allowing 2 goals off of that, and the 2 goals that were scored are.
Yeah,
It wasn't
100%.
like they got completely outclassed. So
Yeah.
I don't think that that's too far of a leap for you to make there. That they were impressive still in that
Yeah.
loss, even though it
I
was 2-0.
Liverpool are a top contender in this league. I haven't seen a single prediction of them finishing outside the top four, and most of the time people have them at three. I would be surprised if they fell any lower than three or four. If Arnie Slot, is he looked great. I mean, his tactics looked like they were working. They looked really good in the second half. Um, they did what was expected, and you can't always say that in the Premier League these days. Like, it's
You couldn't say that about us the last few years. I mean, that was
yeah,
for me why I was most excited about coming away from that is the amount of times that you saw Liverpool limp into a game. I mean, I know it's early in the season, everyone's relatively healthy, but and that was a big part of our issue last year. But to see the team show up and do what they were supposed to do, handle the business that we are expected to do, is a standard that we should always take as fans.
mm-hmm.
When your teams are the level that ours are, where we are top 6 teams every single year and should be considered top 6 teams every single year, there's, you're expected to roll out there and beat a newly promoted team 2-0 or more. And
Absolutely. I
they did
think
it. They did it. It could
I
have
was
been
ex-
4 or 5.
yeah, I was expecting it to be at least 3-1 at the minimum. Liverpool was looking dangerous towards the end there. I was really hoping for those two back to back goals. I was hyped. I was thinking that I was like, oh, my bet's gonna hit. My
I
bet's gonna
know. Bet almost hit. Bet
hit.
almost hit.
It was close.
Um,
I needed 3 goals, but
all
they
right,
look
you ready for
dangerous.
my hot take of the week?
Let's do it.
My hot take of the week. I'm holding strong with what I said. I don't care if I'm a Liverpool fan and that I'm biased. Everton is getting relegated this year. I mean, you
Yeah,
watch that game. I know we were talking about it a little bit, but the marking from their defenders. they looked like they were chasing their tails the entire time. Like it was insane. You see Brighton go across. Matoma takes the ball across the top of the box, and they're turning around and looking in both directions, trying to search for people. The shots are going right through. There's nothing, no problems at all. I'm just like, what is going on here? It
Yeah,
was
they
it, it was abysmal. I mean, the if you look at the red card that they got, it was, one of those where I think that it was pretty obvious just because there's no one in front of the goal.
yeah. I mean,
And
you can't
Ashley Young
not call
literally
that.
just grabbed his arm and
Yeah,
tugged him. It was getting called no matter what. And
yeah.
it's just like that send off happened though in the 66th minute when they were already down
Two
what,
zero, and it
two
honestly
nothing.
could have
Yeah.
been, yeah, it could have been 4-0 because um, Brighton did score again and had it ruled offside. So I
Yeah.
think that was like in the
Yeah.
94th, something like that. So
90,
it,
91st minute right there.
yeah. So
Um,
I didn't even know it got rolled offsides. I thought it was 4-0 to be honest. So it was a tough watch. I mean, it was very clear they're missing Onana. I think that it was just, I don't know. They're missing Braithwaite. Like he's out injured right now. I don't necessarily know when he's going to
mhm.
come back. Everywhere I'm seeing is there's no official timetable for his return. So they're up against it. I mean, Brighton started off last season really strong as well, and ended up falling off towards the middle with all the injuries that they had. And I didn't expect them to be bad, and I definitely expected them to win this game. But 3-0, I mean, at home, your last season in Goodison Park, I feel like you got to show a little bit more heart than that. I mean, Calvert Lewin was doing Calvert Lewin things. He also had a goal ruled or disallowed, sorry, for offsides towards the middle of the game. And it's just, it's tough. It's tough, probably tough to be an Everton fan right now. I can't imagine.
You just, I mean, it kind of something that we were touching upon was just the fact like you have Jake O'Brien that you just brought in, 23 years old from Lyon. They they paid what? How much did they pay for him? Let's see. But I mean, Jake O'Brien was just sitting on the bench the entire time, and to me, when you're starting someone like Keane in that position, it's just you're asking for problems. It's that was all that was about to happen there,
Yeah,
and they looked lost. And I think that like that whole paying $20 million for Jake O'Brien and then sitting on the bench for a 31-year-old, it was just it was a lack of effort. I think from that side, him and Tarkovsky. I mean, they both were just lost like puppies out there. I thought that Tim. I'm not even gonna try to say his name that they got. Um, Tim like or could be from where did he come from? He was on. It was another Premier League team. Villa. Yeah, yeah. They got him from Villa, and his performance. I mean, if you watched a lot of that, I mean, he was flying through there, even as a central midfielder. The kid looked like he was had an eye for goal, like he was actually trying to attack, which is something that they need in that middle of the field. So, I mean, there were some bright spots there for him in I think midfield, but it's just the effort is not there for the team. I just don't know how they're going to make it through an entire season and not get relegated. It's just reeks of relegation to me.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that it's entirely possible. I mean, I didn't hate the pick when you called it. I think that they didn't do anything. Shows me otherwise this weekend. So we'll see how they go next week. I think we play them. I think on Saturday, 11:30.
Believe
They're
so.
going to go down. We're going to win 5-0. Um,
Let's see it.
I'm sure that that's going to happen. I'm feeling it. So, what's next? What else can we overreact about? I think that I was disappointed in Manu's performance. If we're on the basis of overreacting, I'm going to say that they looked no different than they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I mean, it took a goal in the 84th minute I believe, to beat Fulham, who just lost their best player over the off season, and haven't really had any major additions. I mean, they have Emil Smith Rowe, who played fine. I don't think he like stood out to me as like an insanely great performance. I mean, it was a good first performance, the first game of the season, but um, yeah, man, you just they couldn't put it together. I think Bruno Fernandez took 27 shots and missed the goal by a quarter mile at least 23 of those 27 times. So it was disappointing to watch. And they came out with the dub. I guess that's all you can ask for. But
Yeah,
I
there was
expected a little bit more from
six
them.
Bruno Fernandes shots there.
Yeah, how many on goal?
Uh, see that. I see
He had
he had the
1.19 xG.
highest XG, yeah, 1.19 on his team.
Yeah,
Um,
and Manu in total had 2.43 xG and scored one. It was, I mean, the one bright spot in my opinion is Casemiro. I honestly stopped paying attention to them towards the end of last season, and so I was coming into the season. Everybody was like, dogging on Casemiro and how he's shit, and I was like, what do you mean? Like he was the best player for Man U the whole first half of the last season, and he looked great, but apparently he fell off last season. So that was me being a bad general Premier League fan and just focusing too much on my team. But I think he looked great. I think he was one of the bright spots. Kobe Manu looked fine. I think there's room for improvement, obviously, but
I think
I
honestly, overall, Onana looked pretty good too. I mean, it's if we're being fair, I think Onana played pretty
I
well
don't.
for his for.
Yeah, I don't think he looked bad, but also he just has this like cockiness to him. Like he wasn't in any sort of penalty shootout, but like he's asking for it. He's doing some weird shit. Like you saw what he did in the Community Shield with Erling Haaland and the penalties, where he gave him a whole half of the goal, tempting him to. That's the second time that he's done that. Where you're in a penalty shootout. Like I get mind games, but like get back to your spot. Don't give somebody like Erling Haaland the three-time in a row Golden Boot winner. The whole half of a goal and daring him to shoot there. Like if you do that and you save it, sure, congratulations, you're great. That was fantastic. But I don't know. He looked fine. He didn't really have a whole lot to do. So I don't know. I'll hold my judgment on that, but it's just something about him. Not a fan of.
I
He
think
just came in. He came in from a Champion League finale or finalist team, and blanking on the name. Who was it?
his
It was
Inter he was at.
Inter. That's right.
Mhm.
He came from Inter as a world-beating goalkeeper. He was amazing at Inter, and I think he's been fine. I just think the defense doesn't do him any help. I mean, they need help on defense desperately. Delight, he looked good when he came on. Got the job done, kept a clean sheet. That's all you can ask for. You can't play any better than keeping a clean sheet.
Yeah, I mean
So
they have a lot of room to grow, I think, as a team. And I mean,
yeah,
there's still
they're a
so many.
super young
They
squad
have
as well.
so many injuries too, dude. They're still missing Hoyland.
I
They're still
just,
missing
I mean,
Sancho. There's still like yours hurt now.
yeah, Lenny Euro.
I said Euro like
I
he's a sandwich.
Euro. Yeah, I love Euros.
That's right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that they looked very similar. I'm curious to see how it's going to go, considering Eric Ten Hag seems to be having a reunion tour for all of his old Ajax team,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is a choice.
It's a questionable choice there.
It's a choice. It's a choice. I mean, that was a really good Ajax team. I'll give him that much. But I don't know how much of a winning formula that is. But I picked them top three. So if they prove me wrong, they can demolish Old Trafford
Yeah,
for all I care.
I
Just
think that that
play in
was
the
an
community
interesting
park.
game. I think honestly, like the thing that really surprised me, the game that literally just ended about an hour and a half ago, was the lineup that Chelsea put up against United. It's the first time that we've seen Lavia and Caicedo together,
Yeah,
which
I saw Lavia was playing.
I saw that, and it's also kind of a sore spot because both of those players should be Liverpool players. But I think that
He dodged a bullet with Casado, in my
I
opinion.
just
Lavia, you can't
overall
say anything because he didn't play.
the team just looked like they had an entire preseason together. This team, they brought a lot of new guys in, but it's still pretty much the same starting lineup, and they still looked like they had zero chemistry together. And
Yeah,
it's like I don't know when that comes down to like the type of players that you're bringing in or what, but it was. I mean, they hung in there for what 20 minutes, 18 minutes until Holland scored. And then after that, it was just kind of downhill. I actually, halfway through the game, I went to the pool to go meet up with Harrison, and he was swimming there, and there was a guy there sitting in the right by the table, and he was also watching the game. I started talking to him, and he's like, "I don't have love for either of these teams," and I was like, "Same, brother. I do not either."
yeah.
And I was like, "Who
I
do you
have the
cheer
opposite
for?"
of love for both of those teams, truthfully.
Guess who he was a
But
fan
I,
of?
is it like a random team?
No,
Liverpool, probably,
no.
because everybody that I know is a Liverpool
He
fan.
was an Arsenal fan. And so I was
Mm.
sitting there, I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "My friend's a Tottenham fan." He goes, "Tottenham sucks."
Hey,
I'm
nice
like, "All
trophy.
right, man."
Nice
I was
trophy.
like, he was a big
Bottlers
talker
101.
for an Arsenal fan. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was funny. Like you seeing that more and more. You go out and walk around. And there's people watching the game on their phone, or you see the bars have it up.
It's
It's
becoming
nice to see
huge here.
around here. Lots of
I
people.
love it. I love it.
But yeah, I think that was an
Speaking of
interesting
Arsenal,
game.
yeah, it was good. I think Chelsea looked fine. I was again, it's one of those things. I feel I'm probably dumb as fuck saying I was impressed with two teams that lost 2-0, both of them. But I think that there is Chelsea looked positive. I think that they held in there. They had an equalizer not much longer after the Erling Haaland goal that Nick Jackson, boneheaded Nick Jackson, decided that he wasn't going to pay attention, and Cole Palmer had a really decent shot from outside of the box. Ederson stopped it, let go, and right to Nick Jackson's feet, who put it back in the back of the net. But then, dude, I don't know, wasn't thinking. He was like maybe a foot off sides, like maximum, like one toenail. Like it was, but it was just stupid. Like it was just bonehead move. Like he was clearly offsides, but it was. If he would have taken a half of a step back, he would have been on, and he wouldn't have lost any of his momentum. And he still would have gotten there and scored the goal, and then it would have been a 1-1, and who knows what would happen after that.
I
So
think that the
it
same
was,
play that if I'm thinking about the same play, that was the same one where like that offsides flag didn't get called for like two whole minutes of play, and Pep was going insane on the sideline, screaming at the side judge, all of that. Like it might
oh,
have been
yeah,
a
yeah,
different
yeah.
point, but I think that was the same
No,
play where
I
he
don't
was
think it
like
was the
one
same play,
step.
but it was right after that.
Like Jackson had like one step, he was pretty clearly offsides, but if he would have held off, like
Yeah,
they were completely caught out, and the commentators were even talking about like it's just City's high line. Like anytime if you can run him
yeah,
behind that perfectly timed, you'll be able to do that. And that's honestly I think a big reason why I think City can fall off this year is inexperience on that right side with Rico Lewis. They started him today, and there was a couple of times where like their center backs are having to cover that entire right wing and that entire right side of the defense, and that is a place I think that they can get easily caught out on.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
did you have any other games you want to talk about this week, or do you want to do like a quick?
We have to address the elephant in the room. Yerson Mosquera,
Mhm.
some lad I've never heard of, who plays on Wolverhampton, had quite the remarkable game. If you didn't see it, he had an 84% pass completion rate. He won two of his three tackles. He played the full 90 minutes. He grabbed some ass and tried to strangle somebody. you, can you talk say perfect game? I mean, I don't know
That's a different
how
type of hat
this
trick
man.
right there.
I don't understand how this man was able to finish out the full game. Like the ass grab that happened later in the game. I don't. I mean, is it card worthy? I don't know. I wouldn't say yes. Um, I think it could have gotten a card. Gabriel Jesus was definitely standing in the way of the free kick for Trish trying to be an asshole, and you know, not a big fan of Gabriel Jesus in the first place. But the his whole thing with Kai Havertz earlier on in the game, if you watch that replay, like you can't. I don't know how the ref missed it. One and two.
I will thank him for
I
his
don't.
service.
Is
That's
that like
something
a
that
VAR
everyone
thing?
wanted to do. I think a lot of people have wanted to
um,
choke out Kai Havertz, even Arsenal
I
fans.
gotta, yeah, plead the fifth. He looked great. I think he looked great, but it was just so obvious. Like he was falling, looked back, extended his arm, stopped for a second to make sure he was going to land on his neck, and then stood there for a second before letting himself fall off. Like it's not a good look for the refs. So you can't allow that to happen. I'd be surprised if he's allowed to play next game. Um, but I haven't heard of any disciplinary actually coming from it. But yeah, Yerson Mosquera, I
You
think
would
I'm
think that
probably
they're going to
butchering
go
his
back
name,
and
but
say something about that. I mean, the
it
Premier
was
League,
so obvious,
if
Jake.
you're
Like I
looking at that
don't
type of
understand.
stuff, I mean, like Fabian Schär's red card, it
Yes, yeah, exactly,
he head butted
exactly.
him. It was obviously a foul.
It was a flop. It
I
was
don't
a
think it
flop.
was
I wouldn't have even
violent
called it a
enough.
foul.
I don't even think it was violent enough for them to do any further thing. Like he's a straight red is what 3 games for dangerous play.
Automatic
I don't
three
know what the
game.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, I think he'll be out for a while. So you think that Newcastle's going to probably um try to appeal that if they can. But I mean, you would think that nothing was done to this guy. He's gonna have some sort of disciplinary action coming.
I can't.
There's no
The
way
league's
that
a
they
joke.
can't.
If he gets away with that, I just think I don't know. I get Wolves probably not going to do anything, but the Premier League has got to look at that video. Like I was shocked when I saw it. But that was only the other thing that I wanted to go over for that game. Let's see what else can we overreact about. Villa looked good. I was impressed. Onana scoring 4 minutes into his debut. Um, I don't know how you miss a 6'5" guy on a corner, but completely
Yeah,
unmarked. Great cross in, straight into the back of the net. I think he looked fantastic. I think he was player of the match too. I'm pretty sure his first game. Gotta love it. So
I
everyone's
think
out
that
there
Onana
saying
looked
Douglas
great.
Luiz who?
I thought he
Like,
played a pretty good game overall. I just think that like in general, that Villa team, I picked them in top six. I think that that team is going to be very good. A lot of people were just listening to some of the other predictors through on some of the other channels that I looked in. A lot of those people are like, Villa will fall off. Villa lost a lot. I think that team is still very solid. And like, West Ham's kind of in the same position that Villa was last year of trying to be that surprise team that can sneak up there. And I think that Villa kind of stamped on it that, this is still kind of our territory. We're going to be that pest to the top four that are going to keep challenging everyone. So I think it'll be
yeah,
interesting
I
to see how
agree.
that plays out throughout the season. But yeah, I think that Villa at least took the first punch at that group of teams, that bunch of possible people that could be there. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was overall a good week. I think that there were some great games. We still got your lads tomorrow for us to see how that shows in.
I don't know how I'm supposed to go to work. I don't have time. I got like fucking 2 PTO days, and my ass is like, hey man, can I take off a half day on Monday because Tottenham are playing? I absolutely did do that, so now I only have 1.5 days of PTO left for the rest of the year,
it
but it's worth it. I can't
is
miss
what it
opening
is.
day Spurs. A lot of hype. I'm curious to see what's going on or what's going to happen. I'm hoping that we were able to fix our defensive struggles from last season. Um, it's first week, so while we're overreacting to every other team for the first week, not going to overreact to Spurs first week. Can't do it. We're gonna great. We're gonna be great. We're gonna finish top four. It's gonna be amazing. But I think yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm excited. Excited. I
My
think
bosses are
I've
watching this. I'm totally doing my job. If they aren't, I'll totally be watching that game at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So let's
we
just
have a we have a new accountant starting tomorrow. It's his first day, and we're going to like a lunch forum. And this is how Spurs I am through and through. My boss comes up to me because I had already requested PTO when I found this out. But he was just like, "Hey, we're doing a lunch for Jackson on Monday at 12:30. Like, I know you have PTO starting at noon. I know how important Tottenham is to you. Like, you don't feel like you have to be there. Like, it's totally fine if you have to leave." And I'm like, you're a real one for that. Like, I appreciate that. But
I
that was a real conversation that me and my
am.
boss had. Um, I always look forward to going into work on Mondays after during the seasons because we all just sit there. We all, and I say we all, I mean me and him, because he doesn't really have much of a team. He's more of a he follows Palace more so closely than everybody else, but he's just a general soccer fan, which is always fun to see.
Yeah.
But we always go in every Monday. It's our tradition that we just sit there at my desk and talk about what happened this week for the first like 30 minutes of work. It's beautiful. So
Yeah.
shout out Chip.
Yes, sir. Yeah, just looking into what we got coming up next week, just so that we can move along here. I think there's a couple of good games going on. You got 12:30 next Saturday, Villa and Arsenal. I think
Ooh,
that'll be
really?
yeah, that'll be a great showdown
Oh, I
there.
haven't
It's
even
in
looked at
Villa
the lineup.
Park
That should
too.
be interesting.
So
Come on,
yeah,
Villa.
that'll be a definite must watch for everyone there. And then you
100%.
have City will be hosting Ipswich, so we can see how they can match
Well,
up to them there.
yeah, let's see. I'd be curious to see because it's the first week of the season. So obviously, one, everybody has some rust. So nobody looked. I don't think any team really stood out to me, and I was like, "Oh, they're going to be world beaters this year." Um, I Brighton was the only one that I was like, "Oh, that was a super duper convincing win." So I think that I'm curious. I'm excited for the next couple weeks to kind of really form opinions on teams and have some sort of base. But yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, do you think that would say more about Liverpool if City just come out thrashing, or do you think that says more about Ipswich in that
um,
sense?
I just think that it's either way. I think it was going to be a different situation. You have City hosting the much stronger team. Liverpool was going into Ipswich, playing that game there, the first Premier League game of their team. So I mean, like that was why I was more impressed with how Liverpool played because that's a game that was a trap game for us in the past. It's like going and playing at Molineux and playing fucking Wolves in the middle of the season. You just know that that's a game that you could lose even though you shouldn't and have no
I'm
business losing.
so glad that you said that. The amount of times I hate playing Wolves. I hate
Mhm.
playing Wolves. We lose to Wolves every single time, especially at the Molineux. Like we just never win. It never happens. So I'm glad that at least one other team feels my pain.
Yeah,
But
there's
no,
just
I
I think
agree.
that
I
like
think
it doesn't say much about either side there. I think it's just the atmosphere that you have going on during the game. And I think either way, both teams, if City comes out and plays well, it's just showing that City is exactly who we still think they are. If Ipswich shows up and they give them a hard game, I think it proves what you were saying earlier is that Ipswich is not as bad as what we think. I don't think
yeah.
you can realistically expect them to win or draw, but I
No,
think them
absolutely not.
playing well would be enough.
Absolutely. I mean, as long as they don't lose more than 2-0, I would be again impressed.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see. Let's see what else we got on the docket. Tottenham play Everton, so that'll be hopefully not a good game. I'm praying for your sake and mine. I know how you feel about them. So, but again, until tomorrow comes, I don't even know what to expect. I really think that Tottenham are going to come out swinging. I mean, I guess we always do. Um, but I think Solanke has still the more and more I'm getting a lot of confirmation bias because you listen to Spurs fans online, you listen to any team, obviously, but Spurs fans in particular for this scenario, nobody was high on the Solanke signing. I loved it from the start. Like, I'm not trying to be that pick me Spurs fan, but I was like, that's a insane. I said it last week. I would rather have Solanke over Evan Toney any day of the week. I think that he fits Postecoglou's system so well. I think that he's going to score a lot of goals from us, with us, for us this year. Um, I'm really excited for him to be on, and it sucks that he's taking Charleston's place, but I think it's obviously not. It's not even set in stone. Charleston's not fit, so I can't see him starting tomorrow. I think he's been practicing fully, but I just think that I personally would rather see Solanke start. I think because you asked, my starting lineup tomorrow, hopefully, is going to be Son on the left, Solanke up the middle, and BJ on the right. I know it's going to be Kulu, but I still want BJ to start.
I do too.
Middle, middle. It's going to be because I forgot. Basuma likes his balloons, so he's suspended. So Madison for sure. I want to see Bergvall, and I want to see probably Bentancur. We'll see. I'm kind of not fully set on him yet. He didn't look great coming off of injury last season, so but he you know throws bottles at fans, but I don't. Yeah, how did he not get punched for that? Whatever. I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry.
One thing that I
So
was going to
basically,
add in to what you were saying
uh,
about Solanke was that, when you have, unless you are Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, Juventus to a point, PSG, there are only so many Hollands, Mbappe's, these great strikers. What you're looking for are players with promise to up their level.
absolutely,
And
we are not
it,
Arsenal. We are not
you're not going to
Man
sign
City.
these
Like,
best players in the world.
no,
But
everybody. It was always a pipe dream, and I don't think anybody truthfully believed this. But everybody, Spurs Twitter and Reddit or whatever, we're all like,
so is
"Oh,
Liverpool.
we're going to sign Mbappe. We have
So
the
is
money."
Liverpool.
I'm like,
I knew that's
"No,
what you were
we
about to say.
Mbappe would never come to Spurs." Like, it's fun to dream, but let's be real,
The
getting
right
there, it's
coach,
never
the
going to
right
happen. It was
system,
never going to
and the
happen.
right player can
100%.
can fit into whatever role you need him to. That's what I think
Yeah.
Solanke can do. But we'll see. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll
Yeah.
see how they play. But I have a lot of hope for them. But yeah, I mean that's
So do I.
most of those are Saturday. You have Brighton and Man United in the morning too early. Uh, my boys take on Brentford, so we'll kind of see your relegation uh, candidate there and see if they are bad or if today was
It's
some
going to
luck
be
or
bad.
something. But
Today
they
was luck. I don't think Palace did it to themselves. They looked good. They couldn't put the ball in the net. I think they got deflated after the goal was disallowed. I just think that Brentford will show their colors. They always will.
yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, that should be pretty much the slate for next week. We talked about a
yeah.
lot of the stuff that we wanted to for this week, unless there's anything else.
No, not a. It wasn't. I don't want to say it was boring. There was a lot of close games, but overall, I mean, teams I expected to win won.
Yeah, which
Nobody
is
looked terrible. Nobody looked great. Everton by far looked the worst. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. Hopefully it's not Spurs. Hopefully Spurs don't take over that top. But
yeah, that's
I'll be crying on Twitter. You'll see me. It's fine.
no, I think they got it,
But
but
all right, mate.
yes, sir. And hope that you enjoyed the conversation today. I think this was overall a good episode here for us.
Yeah, good. Good. We made it. We didn't take an hour and a half like we did last time. So
I know, yeah.
that was fun. It's clean to the point. But
Yes,
yeah, looking
sir.
forward to talking with you all next week.
Yes, sir.
Hope you guys have a good week and come on, you Spurs.
See you guys.
See ya.